Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the three new evolutions that just went live in North America. So the latest data download was quite small. There's only 3 new cards that have been released, and I just want to go through each of the 3 new ones individually to give you a better idea of what they could possibly do, because at least one of them is going to have possible significance for your monster box. So the first new card is Kushinadahime, and I hope I said that right, or you can say Kush, but either way, long time ago, she used to be one of the more premier leaders for farming Arena 3 because of her no Skyfall clause and ability to have perfect damage control. People could kind of math out how much damage they could deal to slip under the damage absorbed thresholds or other notable mechanics. Time has definitely passed her by, and she can probably still clear content. Like a 75% damage reduction shield is still significant enough for most things, but you have to play with no Skyfalls, you have to match lots of combos, and you have to have wooden hard orbs on the board all the time. Like, it's not impossible, and 324 times attack is pretty high for just 7 combos, and you can be like monocolor or rainbow, whatever you want. So there's some flexibility there. So I can see this being a leader at some points, but it definitely does not hold a candle compared to the other options currently available. And in regards to what she can do possibly, she has a significant amount of healing potential. You have 920 RCV at max level with 3 team RCV awakenings. So that will add a significant amount of healing, and for any mono wood team really, or any team perhaps, it can provide a noticeable increase in healing. The biggest drawback is that she does have heavy overlap with Alnia in a sense, because that individual has enhanced Heart Orb Awakenings, which will mean you match 4 hearts, you get a significantly larger boost. Team RCV Awakenings really only shine bright if everyone else has high RCV. So if everyone had Kushinadahime's RCV, it would be fine. But many cards may not necessarily have that, so it can be a little problematic, so healing could be possibly inconsistent. In terms of Super Awakenings, getting 110 combo doesn't mean much if you have no other offensive awakenings. The L shield does have situational usage. 5% damage reduction on demand on top of whatever else you do could help. And Super Jam Resist is always a tasty thing to have as well. And her active seal gives you a 75% damage reduction shield, and that is definitely nice. But again, who does damage reduction right now for mono wood at least? We have Susanoo, who's kind of the supreme choice, I'd feel, still overall, and Kukan, who does exist, who is still not bad, but Susanoo is just better. So I feel like at this exact moment, I wouldn't have too much use for her. Maybe in the future with Nautilus, a future 7-star Godfest exclusive who has 4 times health, 1 times RCV, might gain a bit of value out of here, but the same thing, as I mentioned before, Alnia is a much better healing solution for mono wood. It has a cleric-style active skill, orb generation, and much better healing potential. So I feel like Kushinadahime is reasonable, but at the same time, the resource sink might be kind of steep for what she does end up offering. So I'm actually using Tsubaki Bot. It's one of the Discord bots you can have access to in most pad Discord servers, and it can be a wonderful way to pull up information for a monster. I plan to do a video about Tsubaki Bot at some point in the future, just showcasing all the more sophisticated or interesting commands. But for now, we get to look at the most basic one of ID space the name of the card, and then you can actually switch between evolutions for the individual card, which can be kind of nice. So I'm just going to go back to the most important one, because that's all we care about. Here, nope. Okay. I'm just going to go all the way. Yeah, we can see all the evolutions. Fun times. Now in the middle. All right. And now we come to the final evolution. Alrighty, so Yamato, I feel like, is possibly a bit more underwhelming overall because he doesn't fulfill any particular niche well. Right now, Mono Fire, I think, is pretty stacked. We've got a great variety of cards we can utilize on a team. And while Yamato is not a bad card by any means, it's just that he doesn't fulfill any particular niche. So if we look at their Awakenings, they can have 4 skill boosts, or 2 with a Super Poison, or 2 with a follow-up attack. Not quite that many skill boosts, or lacking other utility. I would feel the same way if Gunho gave me a poor evolution. I would be screaming like that as well. But if we look at their offensive awakens, they have double 7 combo and 2 cross awakenings. So those crosses means you match a cross of 5, and the owning card itself receives bonus damage of 2.25 times. So it's similar to a VDP, but less orb hungry, and they can remove some sticky blinds, if I'm not mistaken. So it has reasonable usage in that sense, but you're just a reasonably generic card. You're a reasonably generic card. You are able to deal damage. Your active skill is an orb changer. You make wood to fire, dark to heal, and then you change hazards into water. So it's an orb changer that might be helpful for Sena teams, but it doesn't address mechanics. It doesn't counter anything in particular. It doesn't unlock the board, which is a major weakness. Tanjiro teams can obviously benefit from the orb changing as well with the attacker typing, but we don't need extra damage probably. And if you need a follow-up attack, you might just stick in Paulone, who tends to be just a universally wonderful solution for follow-up attack, and she brings an active skill that's actually meaningful. So I feel like Yamato is okay, but he's not doing anything particularly special. Doesn't excel in any one metric. He can't hurt void spawns, which is definitely a bit of a drawback. So I feel like he's just kind of languishing in like a reasonable subcategory, but definitely outpaced by other options. So as I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, there's one card who could possibly change your game, and that one card is Gilgamesh. Not something you would necessarily expect. When I thought of Gilgamesh up until this evolution, it was just a forgotten card in my monster box. But he goes from 0 to hero. He has 4 skill boosts with his Super Awakening, so that's a healthy amount for sure. He's got double 7 combo VP, so respectable personal damage. He has an L, which helps you unlock, which again is valuable. You want to have at least 1 L Awakening on a given team. And Super Poison Resist. These are pretty nice awakenings. Like you have modest personal damage, you have nice utility, you have a poison resist, and the active skill is what's going to make you quite happy. It changes the far right column to fire orbs, and then for 1 turn, you ignore damage and color absorption. So, damage and color absorption is something you basically must bring in any given dungeon. You need at least one of those mechanics pretty much nowadays. So, Gilgamesh is definitely a wonderful solution in those regards, because you are able to have useful awakenings, you have reasonable personal damage, you have that key active skill. And I know there is heavy overlap with Paulone, who tends to be one of the most universally strong subs, but I want to give some special mentions to Gilgamesh and why he might be a better choice in certain situations. If you ever play in 3-player, you would probably not want to use Paulone, because you may have noticed that when you enter, you transform Paulone, you're like, great, this is okay, I'm going good, got 4 effective skill boosts, same as Gilgamesh, but then you have to wait 8 turns to use Paulone's active skill. And normally 8 turns isn't that bad, but if you play in 3-player, well, that's 8 times 3, because everyone else has to take turns. So 24 total turns have to elapse before Paulone charges up. You might be waiting a long time to actually use that damage absorb or color absorb counter, which is problematic. Whereas with Gilgamesh, as soon as you enter the dungeon, he's going to be ready, and he's still going to be ready, so you can use him immediately. Yes, his cooldown is 12 versus 8 turns with Paulone's post-transform, but you can have it ready right away. So this has definitely has merits in dungeons where you need this solution right away. Even in solo mode, waiting for 8 turns might be a little dangerous if it's on, say, floor 1 or 2. So Gilgamesh gives you options in those regards. Another notable thing I want to mention is that Paulone has completely garbage leader skill, and what often happens if you're running, like, say, Sena or Tanjiro teams, is you have full SDRs on your leaders, which means you can get leader swapped. And if you get leader swapped into Paulone, most of the time you do die. That is definitely a sad outcome. But if you run Gilgamesh instead, Gilgamesh getting leader swapped will not be the death of you, because he does have 50% damage reduction when matching 5 or more connected fire or wood orbs. So there's a good chance you tap into 50% damage reduction, which is more than enough to survive. Also, at least at this exact moment, Gilgamesh can have 6 or 8 latent slots. Paulone will get that, I believe, in the future, but right now Gilgamesh has a little advantage there. So don't look down on Gilgamesh. Definitely a strong alternative to Paulone, especially if you're playing co-op or you need the Fujin-style active skill much sooner. So that's the end of all the new evolutions for this small data update. Wasn't too much here, but at least be aware of what they can do and give some love to Gilgamesh. So, hopefully all have a fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.